everybody, it's Jessie. Welcome back to my channel, and this is my May wrap-up. So the amount of books I read in May were three books I read, one book I DNF'd, and I read 3 young adult books and 1 adult contemporary romance book. So the first book that I read this month is the book that I DNF'd in May, and that is Tithe, T-I-T-H-E by Holly Black. It's the first book in the trilogy of the modern fairy tales. Welcome to the realm of very scary fairies. 16-year-old Kay is a modern nomad. Fierce and independent, she travels from city to city with her mother's rock band until an ominous attack forces Kay back to her childhood home. There, amid the industrial blue-collar New Jersey backdrop, Kay soon finds herself an unwilling pawn in an ancient power struggle between 2 rival fairy kingdoms, a struggle that could very well mean her death. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I could not get through this book. I don't know what it was about it. I loved it up until she got into the fairy world, and it was very bad dialogue, and it just was so cheesy. I see a lot of people did 4 stars or 5 stars. Someone did 2 stars, which I feel like we're on the same page about, but I don't know. I just couldn't with this book. It was too childish for me, I guess you could say. It just felt too childish in the dialogue, and I just didn't like it. It just wasn't a book for me, so that's why I DNF'd it. Yeah. So the next book I read in May is another young adult book, and that is Under Rose-Tinted Skies by Louise Gournall. And this, I think, is an Own Voices novel. I think, because I don't really know. I just know it from Emma Books. That's how I knew about this book, and it's about a girl with agoraphobia. She didn't have it all her life. I think it was in high school where it hit her all of a sudden, and now she is homeschooled, and she can't even step 1 foot out of her front door without having a panic attack, and she has anxiety. And then there's this new neighbor that moves in next door, and she's just been people watching all her life, so she's so interested in him, and he is interested in her too, and he doesn't know about her mental illness, and she doesn't tell him, but he knows that she's weird. And it just kicks off from there, and I love the relationship between them and the chemistry and the realness with the mental illness and anxiety of agoraphobia. And even though I can't say if it's so true to agoraphobia or not, 'cause I don't have agoraphobia, but I do have anxiety, and I can relate so much when she has her anxiety moments and panic attacks, because I can relate so much to that. It's so real to that part, but I can't say for the agoraphobia part. But I really did enjoy it. So the third book I read in May is a book that I actually have physically with me. Amazing. And that is the adult romance book that I read, and that is Idol by Kristen Callahan. So this book is basically about a rock star musician who shows up drunk and passed out from his motorcycle crashing into her fence on Libby's front lawn, and she doesn't know that he is a rock star. He is he knows he's good looking, and he knows that he can get any girl he wants, but Libby, she is really stubborn and does not care for him, and even though she doesn't even know anything about him. He's sexy and he's charming, and he's slowly wearing Libby down, and he could be hers if she dares to claim him. The world thinks that he's theirs too, but how can she keep him if the world thinks that he is theirs? Even though they butt heads a lot, they just can't get enough of each other, and he has to choose either his music or Libby because he can't have both. But I did really like this book. But the beginning, couple pages of the beginning, it made no sense whatsoever to me, because who invites a stranger into their house to get cleaned up, showered, rested, and let you eat? You don't know that person. They are passed out, drunk, vomiting on your lawn. You don't know the person, but you let them in and get clean and rested and eat. Who does that? That really bothered me, even though I know it's Southern hospitality. That just really bothered me. But other than that, this book is really good. There's a lot of sex in it, but it is so good. I love the writing, love the dialogue. Structure is good. And this book is a series. I think it's a trilogy, but it's like Anna and the French Kiss trilogy, where each book is about a different couple. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue this, but we'll see. But I did give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. So the last book I read in May is a book that I just filmed a book review on it, so that'll be coming out soon, probably next week. But that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and this book, I would have not picked it up if I read the description, because I didn't read the description of this book. I knew it was a Holly Black book, and it was fairies, and I love fairies, and I love Holly Black. So I just picked it up without knowing what it was, and I feel like if I picked it up if I read the description, I probably wouldn't have gotten this book, because it doesn't really interest me, because there's something to it. It's just I need like more of a grip to hold me there. It's about this girl, Jude. Her parents were murdered when she was 7. Her and her sisters got stolen away to the fairy realm. And then 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to fit in with the fairy realm, even though she's mortal. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially the prince, Carden. He's the youngest and most wicked of the king's sons. But to win a place in the court, she must defy him and face the consequences. Jude becomes more embroiled in the palace and the deceptions. She discovers her own capacity for trickery and bloodshed, and there's a lot of bloodshed and violence in this. But a betrayal threatens to drown the courts of fairy and violence, and Jude will need to risk her life in a dangerous alliance to save herself, her sisters, and the fairy world. And this book, I feel like I would have been more interested if it had romance in it, because it doesn't have any romance at all, at least not with the main character, Jude. There's like side romances, but in fairy romance is not like how humans take it. They're not really serious about it as we are with commitment, but it was just more of a girl saving herself, her family, and a kingdom that she was not born into. She was thrust into it and stolen into it. I did almost DNF this book because the first part of this book didn't catch my interest. It was very slow going, and it didn't really have that much to catch my interest besides fairies, because I love fairies. But Holly Black, she thinks of everything. She thinks of everything. Because even one little thing in the beginning of the book, you think it's just like, oh, added fluff to the book. No, it comes back around in the ending or somewhere in the book. She does not leave anything out that she puts in there. There's something about Holly Black and her fairy books that we don't connect, I guess. But this book was kind of underwhelming, but it still pleased me. I still was entertained. And I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars out of 5. And I know it's going to be turned to a trilogy, but the way this book ended, I kind of hope it's going into where I think it's going to go with how this ended. So I'm kind of excited for that part of it. But we shall see how that ends up. So those are all the books that I read in the month of May, which is... it was pretty good. Well, because I DNF'd one book, but I did read 4 books. 4.5, I guess, in the month of May, which is good. Because more book than I usually read, because I usually read 3 books a month, as y'all know, if you've been here for a while. But, yeah, I'm pleased with it, even though it was a weird month, because I did read a lot at the beginning and in the middle of this month. I did not read for like 2 weeks, maybe, but I was amazed that I finished 2 books at the ending of this month. I didn't think that I could do that, I guess. But, yeah. And for what I'm currently reading The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and I'm probably like at chapter 3. I'm maybe coming up on 30 pages, I'm not sure. I just started it, but I'm reading it because the movie's coming out, and I know it's a good book, so I want to read it before the movie comes out. Yeah. But thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos by me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!